Small plane took off from the runway and crashed only 15 minutes later.
Planes typically take off, soar through the sky, and land smoothly, a routine we've come to rely on and trust. But what happens when things don't go as planned? Sometimes it's a terrifying crash, and other times it's an unexpected, jaw-dropping landing. In today's video, we're exploring the most unbelievable moments in aviation history ever caught on camera. From heart-stopping close calls to incredible feats of skill, here are the 20 wildest and most unforgettable moments in aviation history. Number 20. Door blows out. An Alaska Airlines Boeing 737 MAX faced a terrifying situation when one of its doors blew open midair shortly after takeoff. Passengers aboard, traveling from Portland to Ontario, California, captured shocking videos showing the mid-cabin door completely separating from the plane. The incident occurred just minutes after takeoff. Passengers were stunned as the door was ripped off while the plane was still in the sky. Thankfully, the plane was able to turn around and land safely back at Portland International Airport. On board were 171 passengers and 6 crew members, all of whom were unharmed. The U.S. National Transportation Safety Board is now investigating the event to understand why this happened. Flight tracking data shows the plane reached an altitude of over 16,000 feet before it was safely diverted back to Portland. This specific Boeing aircraft was delivered to Alaska Airlines in October 2023 and had completed only 145 flights. The aircraft's rear exit door, located behind the wings, is normally sealed on Alaska Airlines flights. It's a safety feature that ensures the door can't open during the flight. The airline and investigators will now work to figure out how and why this safety door came loose mid-flight. The investigation is still ongoing, and more details are expected soon. Number 19. Plane escapes tornado. In this jaw-dropping video, a passenger plane narrowly escapes a tornado while flying in the air. As the plane cruises along, you can see the tornado spinning dangerously close. The plane flies right through the path of one of the tornadoes, getting incredibly close to the swirling winds. This intense moment was captured by a passenger flying on a Southwest Airlines Boeing 737 near Fort Lauderdale Airport, where 2 tornadoes were reported. Despite the terrifying close call, the plane safely avoided the worst of the storm, and thankfully no one was hurt. It's a heart-pounding moment showing just how unpredictable nature can be when you're up in the sky. Number 18. Landing on fire. A Frontier Airlines flight faced a scary situation as it made a hard landing at Harry Reid International Airport in Las Vegas. Flight 1326 was coming from San Diego when the pilots noticed smoke in the cockpit. They quickly declared an emergency. As the plane landed, it had a rough touchdown, causing the tires to blow. Video taken by witnesses shows flames coming from under the plane, followed by a trail of smoke. The situation looked intense, but thankfully emergency crews were ready. The Clark County Fire Department rushed to the scene. There were 190 passengers and 7 crew members on board, and everyone was safely evacuated. Airport officials confirmed that all passengers and crew were taken to the gate area without injury. The incident happened at about 3:15 in the afternoon. The cause of the fire and hard landing is still under investigation. The FAA said there was a ground stop at the airport, affecting flights until 7 p.m. The National Transportation Safety Board is also looking into what happened. The investigation will help determine why the plane had such a hard landing and what caused the fire. For now, both the airline and authorities are working to figure out what went wrong. Number 17. Fire in the air. Flames shot from the engine of an Air Canada Boeing 777 just moments after takeoff, leaving passengers and onlookers in shock. The plane, packed with nearly 400 people, had barely left Toronto Pearson Airport when sparks began flying from the engine. In a video captured by a witness, someone can be heard saying, "Holy crap, it's got an engine fire." The terrifying moment happened shortly after the flight took off for Paris at 8:45 p.m. on a Wednesday night. But just 65 minutes later, the plane was back on the ground at Pearson, making an emergency landing. The aircraft was met by emergency teams, and thankfully everyone on board was safe. After inspection, the plane was taken out of service for further checks, and passengers were moved to another flight that left for Paris a few hours later. This engine fire is just the latest in a string of worrying incidents involving Boeing aircraft. A similar engine fire forced a Garuda Indonesia flight to make an emergency landing weeks earlier. In April, a Boeing 737-800 had its engine ripped apart shortly after takeoff. Earlier this year, a Boeing 737 had part of its fuselage separate mid-flight with Alaska Airlines. These incidents have raised serious concerns about Boeing's safety. Number 16. The failed landing. On May 5, 2019, disaster struck at Moscow's Sheremetyevo Airport. A Russian Aeroflot plane, the Sukhoi Superjet 100, crashed shortly after takeoff, killing 41 people. The plane was carrying 73 passengers and 5 crew members. Survivors say the plane was hit by lightning before it made an emergency return to the airport. The plane landed with full fuel tanks, making the situation even more dangerous. The aircraft burst into flames on the runway, and passengers were forced to use emergency exit slides to escape the burning wreck. Dramatic videos showed fire crews rushing to the scene while passengers fled for safety. Witnesses said it was a miracle that anyone survived. 37 people made it out alive, including 33 passengers and 4 crew members. 2 children were among the dead. Survivors praised the flight attendants, with one saying, "Only thanks to the crew I survived." Though there were technical issues with the plane, some survivors believed the lightning strike caused the trouble. Experts say lightning strikes on planes are not uncommon, but crashes are rare. The incident left many shaken as black smoke filled the sky and flames tore through the plane. The tragic event is remembered as a reminder of how quickly danger can strike in the sky. Number 15. Flying down. On a tragic day in Afghanistan, a Boeing 747 cargo jet crashed shortly after taking off from Bagram Air Base, killing all 7 crew members on board. The plane was carrying heavy military vehicles, including 5 mine-resistant vehicles, and had just refueled before heading toward Dubai. A nearby dashboard camera caught the last moments of the plane. The video shows the jet beginning to climb, but just 12 seconds in, it stalls, rolls side to side, and then plunges to the ground. The crash erupts into a massive fireball with thick black smoke rising into the air. Investigators are working hard to understand what went wrong. The plane's black boxes, which hold vital flight data and cockpit conversations, are a key focus. Some experts believe the crash might have been caused by the plane being overloaded with too much weight at the rear, which could have made it uncontrollable. The plane was operated by National Airlines, a company that helps move military equipment. It had stopped in Bagram to refuel before heading to Dubai. 6 of the victims were from Michigan, and 1 was from Kentucky. Despite claims from the Taliban that they shot down the plane, no evidence has confirmed that. Investigators are still working to figure out exactly what caused this deadly crash. Number 14. Midair Collision. A devastating midair collision involving 2 Navy helicopters at Malaysia's Lumut Naval Base has left at least 10 crew members dead. The tragic incident occurred during a rehearsal for the Royal Malaysian Navy's upcoming 90th anniversary parade. In shocking footage shared online, one helicopter is seen clipping the rotor of the other, causing both aircraft to crash. Witnesses described the horrifying moment of impact, with one helicopter spinning out of control before crashing onto the running track. A plume of thick black smoke rose from the wreckage, visible from several miles away, as emergency responders scrambled to the scene. Bystanders at the stadium reported hearing a loud explosion followed by chaotic screams as debris scattered across the area. Officials have since launched a full investigation to determine the cause of the crash, focusing on possible mechanical failures or miscommunication between the pilots. The Royal Malaysian Navy announced that all scheduled events for the anniversary celebration would be postponed indefinitely to honor the lives lost. One helicopter plummeted onto a running track, while the other crashed into a nearby swimming pool. There were no survivors. The Royal Malaysian Navy confirmed that all 10 crew members aboard the helicopters lost their lives at the scene. The helicopters involved in the crash were a HOM model and a French model. The accident occurred around 9 o'clock in the morning. Gruesome photos from the site showed the wreckage of one helicopter on the stadium track, surrounded by debris and rescue personnel. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim expressed his deepest condolences to the families of the victims, calling the event a heart-wrenching tragedy. This tragedy serves as a painful reminder of the risks involved in military operations, even during routine preparations for public events. Number 13. The Open Canopy. Imagine flying at high speed, performing aerobatic maneuvers, when suddenly the glass canopy of your plane flies open and shatters mid-flight. That's exactly what happened to pilot and composer Naren Mumin during a training flight in her Extra 330LX monoplane. As she started a barrel roll, the canopy flew off, exposing her to powerful winds and chaos. The noise was deafening, and the loss of visibility made it hard to breathe and see. Mumin described the experience as terrifying, saying it took her 28 hours to fully recover her vision. Despite the panic, she stayed focused on the task at hand, landing the plane safely. "The hardest part was keeping the power in and trading my vision for energy," she said. "Through all the confusion and noise, the one thing that came through clearly on the radio was, just keep flying." Thanks to her calmness and skill, Mumin managed to land safely. Afterward, she realized the cause of the issue. She hadn't properly checked the canopy locking pin before takeoff. It hadn't been locked into place, which led to the disaster. Mumin also admitted she wasn't at her best that day, having just recovered from COVID-19 and flying without eye protection. She shared the footage years later to warn other pilots about the importance of thorough pre-flight checks, hoping her story would serve as a valuable lesson for others. Number 12. Helicopter crash into the plane. In a shocking moment, a helicopter crashes into a plane in Texas, sending rotor blades flying everywhere. Miraculously, the pilot walked away unharmed. CCTV footage shows the Black Robinson R-44 helicopter spiraling out of control as it approaches its garage, trying to land. Instead of touching down, the helicopter swerves and crashes into a small white stationary plane. The impact is violent, and the helicopter's rotor blades keep spinning wildly, smashing into the other aircraft for what feels like an eternity. The blades continue to whirl, causing chaos as they collide with the plane. Finally, the rotor slows down and the noise stops. Moments later, 3 men in black rush out from the garage to check on the pilot. Unbelievably, the pilot, the only one on board, steps out of the wreckage and walks away completely unharmed. The crash took place at Pearland Regional Airport at around 9:30 a.m. on Sunday. Emergency services were called to the scene, but doctors confirmed that no medical treatment was needed. The Federal Aviation Administration is now investigating the cause of the crash. This close call is a reminder of how quickly things can go wrong in the air, but against all odds, the pilot survived without a scratch. An incredible story of luck and survival. Number 11. Too low. A clear, sunny day in Greece turned into a jaw-dropping moment for plane spotters when a Wizz Air airplane made a shockingly close landing at Skiathos Airport on August 5. Pilot Dimitrios Grigorio filmed the breathtaking moment as an Airbus flew just above a crowd of photographers. As the plane descended, one photographer even had to duck as it passed dangerously close overhead. This close landing is possible because Skiathos Airport has a shorter runway, only 5,341 feet long. The airport is famously known among aviation enthusiasts for its challenging landings, making it a popular spot for adrenaline-pumping plane watching. Videos of similar landings have gone viral in the past, showcasing how airplanes almost skim the heads of spectators on the narrow beach adjacent to the runway. Warnings are posted at the site, advising onlookers to stay alert, but they do little to deter the thrill-seekers who flock there for these dramatic experiences. Witnesses described the roar of the engines as deafening, with the force of the wind from the jet blast sending hats flying and sand swirling. The pilot's skill and precision were widely praised, as such landings require exceptional expertise and control. The hot weather also played a role. On warm days, the air is less dense, which makes it harder for the plane to slow down once it hits the runway. With less air available for reverse thrust, the plane has to fly lower to quickly slow down. The flight was Air Flight 8447, took off from Naples, Italy, and flew for just over an hour. As it descended from 14,000 feet, the plane passed over the Pactic Gulf, then made a tight circle over Skiathos Island before landing. At one point, the plane flew just 40 feet above the plane spotters, making for an unforgettable close-up view. Number 10. Balloon in the mountain. 2 Britons watched in horror as a giant hot air balloon packed with 20 tourists and 2 pilots crashed into Turkey's famous fairy chimney rock formations. The terrifying moment happened around 6 o'clock in the morning after a freak gust of wind pushed the balloon into the rocks in Love Valley, Cappadocia. Rebecca Horsfall, 31, was at a scenic viewpoint with her partner Kieran McDonnell to capture the sunrise when disaster struck. She filmed the shocking moment as the balloon slammed into the rocks, describing it as incredibly scary. She added that the basket just slipped down the mountainside. A sudden gust of wind caused the crash as pilot Uzun tried to land the balloon. Emergency services arrived quickly, and witnesses watched as the deflating balloon was secured. Rebecca's drone captured footage of a passenger being fanned after fainting from the shock. Despite the rough landing, no injuries were reported. Local officials confirmed that all 20 passengers and 2 pilots were unharmed. One passenger praised the pilot, saying he provided confidence during the landing. Rebecca, who was traveling through Turkey in a camper van with her partner and 3 dogs, said they had been there for a week watching balloons rise every morning. This was not what they expected to see. Thankfully, everyone walked away safely from the frightening scene. Number 9. On the highway. A dash camera captured a jaw-dropping moment north of Toronto when a small plane nearly collided with traffic. The single-engine Cirrus SR-20 plane took off from Buttonville Airport in Markham, Ontario, but something went terribly wrong. The incident happened on a Tuesday afternoon around 2 o'clock. The plane struggled to gain height after takeoff. Witnesses described the terrifying scene, with some drivers slamming on their brakes as the aircraft descended alarmingly low over the road. The sound of the plane's engine sputtering was audible to those nearby, adding to the chaos. A cyclist passing through the area recalled seeing the plane clip the top of the fence before spiraling toward the road. Dashcam footage revealed a narrowly avoided catastrophe, with the plane passing mere inches above a car's roof. Emergency crews arrived quickly, securing the area and preventing further traffic disruption. It crashed through a fence and came flying dangerously low over a busy road. In the video, one of its wings just barely missed the front of a moving car. Onlookers were stunned as the plane narrowly avoided disaster. It eventually crashed into a ditch on the other side of the road, leaving its nose and side severely damaged. York Regional Police called it amazing that no cars were struck. Inside the plane were a male instructor and a female student, both of whom escaped without injuries. Drivers on the road were also unharmed. The Transportation Safety Board of Canada is investigating the crash. Officials said the instructor was practicing a routine training maneuver called touch and go. This involves landing, slowing down, and quickly taking off again. It's a standard exercise for pilots, but this time something went wrong. Investigators are now trying to figure out why the plane couldn't climb properly. For everyone involved, it was a close call they won't soon forget. Number 8. Crash in the water. On a sunny Saturday, a plane made an unexpected splash into the water at Hampton Beach, New Hampshire, around noon. The plane, carrying a banner, tried to land on the water. As it touched down, the tail flipped into the air, but the plane quickly turned back and landed upright. Onlookers at the crowded beach described the scene as surreal, with many initially mistaking it for a stunt or emergency drill. Several beachgoers captured the dramatic moment on their phones, their videos quickly going viral on social media. Witnesses praised the pilot's calm demeanor, noting how he skillfully avoided nearby boats and swimmers during the emergency landing. Lifeguards stationed nearby sprang into action, reaching the plane in record time and ensuring the pilot's safety. The incident caused a temporary buzz at the beach, with crowds gathering around to watch as rescue teams secured the aircraft. The pilot, who was the only person on board, had no injuries and was rescued by lifeguards within moments. The plane had been flying with a banner promoting a local business when it faced trouble. Police said the pilot reported engine issues before attempting to land in the water. The plane was a Piper and was registered to Eugene F. Gray, a co-owner of Skyline's aerial ads based in Northampton. Flight tracking shows the plane took off from Hampton Airfield around 10:45 in the morning. It made a few laps along Hampton Beach and Salisbury Beach before its flight ended at 11:59. Once the plane was safely pulled to shore, police and the FAA began investigating the cause of the crash. Though the pilot didn't speak to reporters, the quick rescue and no injuries were a huge relief for everyone. This close call reminds us how quickly things can change in the air. Number 7. The flying car. Imagine watching a flying car soar through the sky. A prototype flying car recently completed a test flight between two cities in Slovakia, staying in the air for 35 minutes. The video shows Klein Vision's air car taking off from Nitra and flying toward Bratislava. It's powered by a 160 horsepower BMW engine and features a fixed propeller. What's even cooler, it transforms from a car to an aircraft in less than 3 minutes. The aircar's design, blending sleek aerodynamics with the functionality of a road car, has left engineers and aviation enthusiasts impressed. Observers at the test site marveled at how smoothly the transition from road vehicle to airplane took place, calling it a glimpse into the future of personal transport. Reports suggest that the car performed seamlessly, handling crosswinds and turbulence with stability. Experts believe that the success of the aircar could pave the way for integrating flying vehicles into urban and suburban travel systems. However, regulatory and infrastructure challenges remain key hurdles before flying cars can become mainstream. In the footage, the aircar reaches impressive speeds, flying at over 118 miles per hour and cruising at 8,200 feet. As it glides through the sky, you can see the smooth transition from a regular road car to a flying machine. After landing in Bratislava, the car switches back to a road vehicle, and the CEO, Stefan Klein, drives it straight into the city center. Klein Vision is already working on a new version, the Aircar Prototype 2. This upgraded model will have a 300 horsepower engine, reach speeds of 186 miles per hour, and travel over 620 miles. There are plans for 3- and 4-seat versions, plus twin-engine and amphibious models. This flying car might just change the way we travel, and watching it in action makes you believe flying cars could be a reality sooner than we think. Number 6. Bird strike. Flames shot from the engine of a United Airlines plane right after it took off from Chicago O'Hare Airport. Passengers and witnesses on the ground were left in shock as they saw flames shooting out of the left engine. The plane, originally heading to Miami, had to turn back to the airport for an emergency landing. The cause of the fire? A bird strike just moments after takeoff. People nearby described hearing loud noises and seeing flames. One witness, Alison Doan, said the sound was incredibly loud and she couldn't stop staring at the burning engine. Another, Chris Mulla, heard a huge rumble as the plane passed over his house and saw flames bursting out of the engine. A video shared on social media showed the flames clearly visible from the plane's engine. Despite the terrifying scene, United Airlines confirmed that the plane landed safely around 11:15 in the morning. No one was hurt. After landing, passengers were taken off the plane, and a new aircraft was brought in to continue the flight. Took off again at 1:24 in the afternoon. The Federal Aviation Administration is now investigating the bird strike. While the incident was scary, the quick response and safe landing ensured everyone's safety. It's a reminder of how dangerous bird strikes can be to aircraft. Number 5. Catching the rocket. SpaceX just made history in a big way. In a stunning test flight, they launched the world's biggest rocket, the Super Heavy Starship, and then caught the massive booster with huge mechanical arms known as Mechazilla. These arms grabbed the booster as it descended back to Earth, something never done before. The rocket took off from SpaceX's Texas site with an earth-shaking roar from its 33 powerful engines. After just 3 minutes, the booster separated and turned around, heading back to the launch site. As it neared, the Mechazilla arms moved in, gently catching the rocket above the pad. This was a huge leap toward reusable rockets, which is SpaceX's goal. Meanwhile, the Starship upper stage continued its journey into orbit. Re-entering the atmosphere, it faced extreme heat, over 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, but survived thanks to new heat shields and fins. This test flight proves that SpaceX is getting closer to a future where rockets can be launched, landed, and reused in a matter of days. This will be key for future missions to the Moon, Mars, and beyond. With rapid reusability, space travel could soon become cheaper and more efficient, opening up the universe for everyone. What SpaceX did today marks a giant leap in space exploration. Number 4. Getting tangled. A paraglider in Spain narrowly escaped death after a terrifying freefall. Kevin Phillip, an experienced pilot, shared footage of his near-death experience while performing an acro-paragliding trick in Ornea, Spain. Strong turbulence caused chaos in the air, and his brake line became stuck. The video shows him plummeting as his parachute lines tangle around him. Desperately, he deployed his rescue parachute, but it failed to open and instead wrapped tightly around him. Witnesses on the ground could only watch in horror as the dramatic scene unfolded, with some even screaming in fear as they anticipated the worst. Philip, who has logged thousands of paragliding hours, admitted that his survival hinged on both his training and a lot of luck. The rapid descent was compounded by the high-altitude winds, which made untangling the lines even more challenging. As Philip wrestled with his gear midair, his calm determination and years of experience likely played a key role in his survival. He later shared that the incident has profoundly affected his perspective on risk and preparation in extreme sports. With only 1 second left before impact, Philip managed to manually open the rescue chute. A small orange parachute inflated just in time, slowing his descent and saving his life. He described the event as rare and unlucky, writing, "This was not the day to die," and urged others to fly high, land safe. According to the U.S. Hang Gliding and Paragliding Association, paragliders use lightweight aircraft with no rigid frame. Pilots sit in a harness suspended below a fabric wing made of interconnected cells. Philip's story highlights how seconds can make all the difference in extreme sports. Number 3. Broke into two. A DHL cargo plane made a dramatic emergency landing at Costa Rica's Juan Santa Maria Airport after a mechanical failure. The Boeing 757, which was bound for Guatemala, experienced a hydraulic issue just after takeoff. The pilot immediately requested an emergency landing, but things took a wild turn when the plane skidded off the runway, broke in two, and lost its tail. The yellow DHL plane was quickly doused with firefighting foam as it came to a stop in a grassy area near the runway. Photos showed the wreckage with the tail completely detached and one wing severely damaged. Miraculously, all crew members were unharmed, though one was checked out as a precaution. The incident caused chaos at the airport. The runway was closed for several hours, delaying over 8,000 passengers and 57 flights. However, the airport was able to reopen faster than expected, just 5 hours after the crash. DHL and local authorities quickly activated their response teams and began investigating what went wrong. Despite the dramatic scene, no lives were lost, and the crew acted swiftly to prevent a worse outcome. This crash landing shows just how quickly things can go wrong in aviation, but also how important safety measures and quick reactions are in preventing disaster. Number 2. The spinning helicopter. A 74-year-old hiker had an unexpected, dizzying ride during her rescue from an Arizona mountain after a fall on Piastua Peak. The woman was hoisted into a rescue helicopter, but things quickly took a wild turn. As the helicopter lifted off, her stretcher spun out of control, twirling in the air for more than 40 seconds. The spinning was caused by a line that wasn't working properly, leaving the stretcher uncontrollably twisting in the powerful backwash of the helicopter's rotor blade. The rescue crew fought to stop the wild spin by raising and lowering the stretcher multiple times. Finally, the helicopter's forward motion slowed the rotation enough to safely bring her inside. Despite the chaos, the woman, who was treated for dizziness and nausea, didn't suffer any major injuries. Phoenix Fire Captain Bobby Dubnow reassured the woman, telling her everything would be okay. The helicopter's chief pilot, Paul Apolinar, explained that this kind of spinning can happen during rescues and that the team is always prepared for it. Luckily, the woman only had a little dizziness to show for her wild ride. It was a terrifying moment, but in the end, a successful and safe rescue. Number 1. Rope snap. A Gujarat couple's parasailing adventure in Jio took a scary turn when the rope of their parachute snapped. Ajit Kathad, 30, and his wife Sulla Kathad, 31, were enjoying a ride off Nagoa Beach when, just as they reached the highest point, the rope broke, sending them falling into the sea. The terrifying moment was caught on video by Ajit's brother Rakesh, who was on the powerboat. He screamed in panic as he watched them plunge from a great height. "I was recording and had no idea what to do," Rakesh said, feeling helpless as the couple fell. Eyewitnesses on the beach described hearing loud gasps and shouts as the couple hurtled downward. One bystander remarked that the sight of the parachute collapsing midair was like a scene out of a disaster movie. Despite the chaos, the lifeguards' quick response received praise from onlookers, who commended their professionalism. The couple later revealed that the incident had shaken their confidence in adventure sports, with Ajit admitting he had second thoughts about taking risks in the future. Sulla expressed relief that they had decided to wear life jackets, which undoubtedly saved them from serious harm. Luckily, the couple was wearing life jackets, and lifeguards quickly rushed in to rescue them. Both were shaken but thankfully unhurt. Ajit described how the parachute swayed uncontrollably after the rope snapped, making it hard to stay calm. His wife Sulla was in shock and couldn't speak for several minutes. Before the accident, Rakesh had warned the operators that the rope looked frayed, but they assured him it was fine. The owner of the company blamed the accident on strong winds, calling it a rare incident. However, the couple felt the parasailing service was careless and even considered filing a complaint, though they eventually decided not to. Which of these aviation moments shocked you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more exciting videos.